so we come to the winter of ethnography. Taking a seasonal approach to ethnography imagines that the four seasons that move through the world are an apt way of understanding the ethnographic process. So the winter time in the world is a time of incubation and hibernation where we retreat and wait in solitude, and it's associated with the age of the elder. And this is its basic pace, right? Winter is a slower pace. It's a time to conserve energy. It's a time of wisdom and consideration. Winter is often thought of a time of death, and there are ways that that's true, but it's also a time of incubation of future creativity and a confrontation with the ending of things, with mortality. And so, thinking about that ethnographically, we we believe, or the Four Seasons of Ethnography asserts, that there is a period of time in the ethnographic process when some of the energy of the research activity recedes and things become slower. And in the winter time of ethnography, it follows the kind of like reflection and gathering of the autumn stage. And really the main task of the winter time of ethnography is the time of writing. It's sitting down and taking that slower pace of writing and rewriting and submitting and maybe rewriting again. And I think that winter is a particularly apt metaphor for the writing process. Compared to the rest of the elements of ethnography, because field work, for instance, involves so many relationships, and you're out in the field and you're taking field notes and doing interviews, and it's very energetic. And some people who find it hard to kind of spool up the energy to accomplish the summertime of ethnography, like they don't love like all of the relationships that are necessary in order to do ethnographic research, they might actually be really good at adopting the slower pace, the writing pace of sitting back and asking what happened. Whereas the reverse is sometimes true. Some folks who are really good at spooling up the ethnography into its summertime find it harder to do the work once the relationships are gone. And the relationships don't have to go all the way. One of the things about wintertime is you choose who you keep close, and it's a smaller number of people, but you do get to choose, and it is one of the principal tasks of the winter time of ethnography is asking what relationships should I keep. When the winter of ethnography is also a time where you have to decide what you're going to share and what you're going to keep secret and private. So in the growing time of ethnography, all of these things become possible, and as you transition through the autumn, you start recognizing what they mean or what they could mean to you. And when you finally sit down to write, and it's in the slower pace, one of the things that you ask is what here should be shared. Should any of it be shared? Actually, one can choose to never share what they write. But what should be shared, and with whom should it be shared, and how should it be shared, are all wintry tasks. And then, it's important to recognize that rest is a critical dimension of the research process. And I'll confess that my own research methods, I deploy a kind of community-based iterative approach where I move dynamically between service and inquiry and analysis and presentation and back and forth. And I have noticed when I'm not being intentional about my research projects is that I never rest, that I never take the time to let my research be slow. And I will say that slowness is not a thing that we honor very much in the academy. Maybe we honor it more than in many sectors of society, but it's certainly not a thing that we um, love in certainly in the United States. But slowness and thinking are really beautiful partners. I worked on a project with a group of people, and for various reasons, the project lay fallow for a while. Um, and I felt really bad about it. I had a lot of guilt about the project. But the truth is that, and it actually took some years to finish it. But I'm so glad that I didn't hurry up and publish it, because then I would have felt like it was done. And I learned so many things when I thought I wasn't doing anything. And that the truth of the matter is it wasn't laying fallow. It was just a seed that was still in the ground that hadn't sprouted yet, right? And it was a long winter, but that I didn't say the things that I shouldn't have said because I was busy waiting and being slow. So some things, some cautions. Winter comes with a freeze, which can be a writer's block, and it can also come with a sense of abandonment or loneliness or isolation as you become less connected to the community that you were a part of. And yeah, other things that are important to not mess up when you enter the winter time is to not think that you learned everything that there is to know. One of the principles of the Four Seasons of Ethnography is that it's cyclical. And so one of the temptations when you are writing is to write with a sense of finality or certainty. And this can cause you to abandon the necessary tentativeness with which one should have claims, but it can also give you a sense that you're done, and that what you're in is not a winter which gives rise to a new spring, but rather just an apocalypse, an ending of the enchoristic cycle entirely. So don't think that you know everything there is to be known, even with the wisdom of having been through your project. It's important to remember that there's more to learn. And then the last caution is don't be driven by the external constraints only, right? I mean, you have to be responsive to the world around you, and sometimes seasons shift when you're not anticipating it. But likewise, sometimes the project is not done, and you might actually need to start a whole nother cycle of ethnography before you get to the final paper. You might need to reimagine what engagement with a field looked like. You might need to go and generate more data, and you might need to reflect on that data and curate it and draw and bind it together. And you might need to enter another time of writing. And it's disappointing sometimes to hear that a project can't be finished, on this kind of go round. But the truth is, we don't control the seasons, and we don't control the way that we show up inside of them. And sometimes that which must be said cannot yet be said. And so this is the winter of ethnography. It feels a little weird, ironic to be talking about this idea of wintering in the middle of a COVID-19 pandemic, because in very many ways the whole world is wintering right now. Certainly there are people whose work has gone into overdrive, and whose life is anything but slow. But for many people, this is a time of slowness. This is a time to conserve energy and to focus on what here is wisdom, and to incubate the creativity, and to confront the necessary mortality that allows us to survive, to get to the spring.